Good morning, students. Welcome in science class. Chapter 9 we are doing. Students, in this chapter, habitat portion is omitted. Characteristic of living things. That topic we are covering in this chapter. Again, let me remind you, habitat and the adaptation topic we had omitted from this chapter. Today, another characteristic of living things, that is, do living things move? In chapter 8, we discuss the various ways in which animals move. They move from one place to another and also show other body movements. What about plants? You know that all the animals, they are moving from one place to another. But what about the plants? Do they also move? You know that plants are generally anchored, means they are fixed in the soil. Anchored means they are fixed in the soil. So they do not move from one place to another like us, like other living beings. However, various substances like water, minerals, and the food synthesized by them move from one part of the plant to another. You know that plant, they prepare their own food. So whatever water we are giving to the plant, or minerals, or whatever fertilizers we are giving in that soil only, and from the soil it is conducted to each and every part of the plant. So their movement, you can see that all that water, minerals, and the food, whatever is synthesized, they move by themselves from one part of the plant to the other. Have you noticed any other kind of movement in plants? Opening or the closing of flowers? Yes, touch me not plant, mimosa. If you touch it, it will close it. So this type of the movement you will see. Sometimes the movement of the part of the plant towards the light also you will see. You know that sunflower, they grow always towards the sunlight. So this type of the movement you will see in different parts of the plant. For example, the flowers of dandelion plant open up. Some flowers, they open up in the morning and close it in the evening when the light fades. So this type of the movement you will notice, or this type of the movement you will see in that some plants of the opening or the closing of the flowers. Do you recall how some plants show movement in response to certain stimuli? Yes, mimosa plant. When you touch it, touch me not plant, it will get folded. So they are responding, they are reacting towards the stimuli. So we also have some non-living things moving. Yes, of course, there are lots of non-living things, they are moving. Take the example, bus, car, small piece of paper, you are making a paper boat. Clouds, they are also moving in the sky from one place to another, and so on. If you count it, there are lots of non-living things, they move from one place to another. The movement of the clouds, is caused by the force of blowing air and wind. You know, cloud is a non-living thing, but then also they are moving. But how it is moving? That the air or the wind, they are forcing them to move from one place to another. Take a piece of wood. If you are keeping in a water or in a river, they are also flowing with the water, with the flow of the water. Car or a bus, they also moves by the force of hot and the compressed gases produced by burning of petrol and the diesel in its engine. Because of the engine, they move from one place to another. So they also show the characteristic of living things, some non-living things. There is such a variety of living organisms, but all of them show some common characteristic as we have discussed. Yet, another common characteristic is that living beings die. Yes, of course, they are having the lifespan, they are having the definite lifespan. Living things, they are having the definite lifespan, they are also showing this characteristic of the definite lifespan. Because organisms die, particular types of organisms can survive over thousands of years only if they reproduce their own kind. If they, through the process of reproduction, if they reproduce their own kind, then some organism, I'm not saying all, some organisms, they live for thousands of years. One single organism may die without ever reproducing, but the types of organism can exist only if there is a reproduction. If their own baby, or from that, if they are giving birth to their young ones, or through their eggs, if they are giving the birth to their young ones, then only their life will exist through the reproduction. So all the living things have a definite lifespan. Different living things have different lifespan. For example, some insects, you take the some insects seen during rainy season and is only for few hours. At night you will see so many insects are coming in your house, but early in the morning they die. So they are having that type, only that much lifespan. Lifespan of a tortoise is more than 100 years, lifespan of the tortoise is more than 100 years. So in the case of animals, different types of plants also have the different lifespans. But most of the large trees have longer lifespans than the animals. We see that all living things seem to have some common characteristics. This common characteristic, now we had seen all. They need food, air and water, they respire, they respond to stimuli, they reproduce their own kind, they show movement, they grow, and they also die, means they have the definite lifespan. Do we find some non-living things that also show some of this characteristic? Cars, bicycle, clocks, and the water in the river move. The moon moves in the sky. Just now we had discussed everything. Again I am reading. Cloud grows in the size right in front of our eyes. Can such things be called living? We ask ourselves, do this object all show all the other characteristic of living things? In general, something that is living may have all the characteristic that we have discussed. So in general, whatever characteristic we had discussed, mostly they show all the characteristic, while non-living things may not show all the characteristic at the same time. This line you have to keep it in your mind. Now question will arise, is this always true? Do we always find that living things definitely show all the characteristic of living things that we had discussed? Do we always find that non-living things may show only some of this characteristic and never all of them? To understand this a little better, let us look at a specific example. Consider any seed. In case of the seed, all living things, you know that all living things show all the characteristics, but sometimes a living thing may not show all the general characteristic of living things. It may show only few of them. It is not, then also they are living thing. It is not necessary that all the living things should show all the characteristic of this common characteristic. Sometimes they show only one or two characteristic, then also they are considered as the living thing. Now this point will become more clear if I will give you this example. Take any seed, wheat या मूंग या any seed you take or any pulses या cereals you take. Take मूंग or wheat seeds. Are living things. They are living things, but they do not show all the characteristic of living things. For example, wheat seeds. They do not require food. They do not grow. आप कोई भी seed ले लो. They don't require food. You will see that they don't grow also. They cannot move on their own also. They stay in the shop for months and not show any growth or some of other characteristic of life. However, we bring the same seed and plant it in the soil. Now, what you have to do? That seed you are planting. Did the seed need food? Did it excrete, grow or reproduce when it was in the shop for many months? No. But when you are planting that seed in a soil, what will happen? Yes, of course, it will start growing. So this one characteristic they are showing. We see that there can be cases we cannot easily say that thing has all the characteristic we have discussed for it to be called living. What then is life? Push your hand deep inside a sack of wheat. Sack means gunny bag. Gunny bag which is full of wheat. Put your hand inside. What will happen? We will find that it is somewhat warm inside. You will feel some warmth in your house in the summer season. That gunny bag full of wheat are coming. Then your mama is cleaning that gunny bag full of that wheat. And then she will store it in that container. At the time when you will keep your hand, you will feel some warmness. This means that some heat is being produced inside the gunny bag or the sack bag full of wheat. Actually, the wheat grains or the wheat seeds, they respire and give out some heat energy during respiration. Is this heat produced by the respiration of wheat seeds which makes our hand feel warm when we put inside the bag full of wheat? So respiration is the life process which takes place in dry, stored seeds, even when other usual life processes are not observed. So we can say that seeds are living things because they undergo respiration. What then is life? However, looking at all the diversities of living beings around us, we can say that life is beautiful, yes. So when we sow a seed in the soil and water the soil, then the seeds show growth and turns into a new plant. So all the living things, it is not necessary that at a time they will show all the common characteristic, but however they are showing one or two characteristic, then also they are the living things. So students, today we had discussed all the characteristic of the living things. Again, I am reminding you that in this chapter 9, habitat and the adaptation portion is omitted from this chapter. Textual exercise. I had done the wrong with my pencil, that you have to not revise it, that you don't have to do, because it is of habitat and that adaptation. In the fill in the blanks, only one fill up. Changes in our surroundings that make us respond to them are called stimuli. Write this fill up in your textbook only. But question 4, 5, 6 and 7 you will copy down in your CW book. Question 4. Which of the things in the following list are non-living? Now easily you can differentiate what are the living things and what are the non-living things. Plow, it is non-living things. Mushroom, living. Shaving machine, non-living thing. Radio, non-living thing. Boat, non-living thing. Water, it is water. Hyacinth, in between that comma will come water, it is non-living thing. Hyacinth, it is the name of a plant and it is living thing. Earthworm, living thing. So with the help of this uploaded video, you will write question 4, question 5, 6 and 7 in your CW. Fifth question. Give an example of a non-living thing. Here you have to give one example of non-living thing which shows any two characteristic of living things. Yes, cloud. Cloud is a non-living thing, but then also they are showing the two characteristic which, yes, they move. Clouds move from one place to another. And second characteristic, they grow in size. You might have seen sometimes in the sky, from the small cloud they are growing bigger and bigger, bigger and bigger. So this cloud is a non-living thing and they are showing the two characteristic of the living things are they move from one place to another place and they grow bigger in size. Sixth question. Which of the non-living things listed below were once part of a living thing? Here so many items are given in question 6. You have to think and then you have to write the answer that it is a non-living thing but once it was a part of living thing. पहले वो living thing था, अब वो non-living में हो गया. Butter. Yes, it is non-living thing. Leather, it is a which was a part of the living thing from the animal's body, and animals are the living thing. So it is a which were once the part of the non-living thing. In that, leather will come, soil won't come, wool will come, electric bulb won't come, cooking oil will come because you are getting from that plants. Salt won't come, apple and rubber will come because rubber you are getting from that tree's bark. Seventh question already we had written. So next time again you don't have to write. List the common characteristic of the living things. Already we had written. So you don't have to write. So just now in your CW book, question 4, 5 and 6 you will write with the help of this uploaded video. Thank you students, and question number 8 is not there. Thank you students.